Hold on. I'll take English. Ice Age, the video game. For Game Boy Advance. You know, because every 3D anime movie needs a game on everything. Ice Age was an alright movie. It was pretty successful too. That's a big 5 of them. The original came out in 2002. Made almost $400 million. So you know what that means. Lots of crappy video games! And by lots I mean just one. Ice Age only got one game. And it's not very good. It also says if I have passwords for some reason. It's just kind of weird that Ice Age uses passwords and came out the same year that Metro Fusion did. I'm not sure to talk about that game, but the video now would take a lot more effort. Anyway, Ice Age for GBA. The game loosely follows the story of the movie. With that I mean, it skips straight to when Manny and Sid get the baby. This is literally the first thing you see when you push new game. Don't try real hard to remember this, because it doesn't really matter. If you haven't seen the movie, then all the story the game gives you won't make any sense. Moving on, the level select is boring. You can't even back out to the title screen once you're on it. Like, what if I pushed a new game? And when I meant to push password? I have to turn the whole console off and then turn it back on again. Not that you want to do that anyway, because you can beat the game within 2 hours or less. I haven't really bothered with the passwords when you can kill 2 hours and beat the game every time you turn it on. So, let's start with level 1. Henceforth dubbed Tutorial. The first screen is the whole tutorial. After that, you're literally just on your own. You have the ability to walk, jump, throw Manny's body into the ground as hard as possible, smack, throw the baby. Each level is split into multiple screens, with each screen being its own ordeal. Each screen is a new puzzle, in theory. The first screen of the tutorial isn't a puzzle. It's literally just telling you how to play the game. Screen 2 introduces some enemies, and you just walk right through it. It's not really that difficult either. Pretty straightforward. Screen 3 introduces the only power-up you get in the entire game. The walnut. Manny can shoot the walnut, and it's the crux for most of the puzzles. Like moving this Megacerops. Remember kids, all it takes to move a Megacerops is one walnut moving very fast. Also make note of the sound it makes, because I will be bringing it up later. It also introduces the concept of bouncing on enemies to reach higher. Screen 4 brings in slopes. Nothing to write home about. And this stupid bit at the end with the DGG of Manny's hitbox sucks. Screen 5 is a big one. Screen 5 uses the skunk. And you'll never guess what it does. That's right, it makes you fly. It changes the music, but that's beside the point. Skunk doesn't show up a lot, so I will make a note of every time he appears. Because he annoys me. Screen 6 shows that we can chain jumps off enemies to cross gaps. That's it. Screen 7 is the first actual puzzle. It's a bit annoying. You see, the ceiling's a little low. But not a bad puzzle. It works. You go through the tunnel, you climb on top, you go get the nut, you go through the tunnel again, you shoot the Megacerops into the death pit. Screen 8 is a climbing puzzle. Nothing too impressive. It does have a skunk, though. Then we're dropped right into the first boss on screen 9. The first boss is a Glyptodon. And your goal is to use Body Slam on it 5 times. It's an interesting first boss, if a bit on the easier side, when you're not bad at video games. Overall, the tutorial doesn't have any problems. It's a good start to a not great game. Now that that's over, I can explain acorns. You may have seen them throughout the first couple screens there. Acorns act as your health. Each one acts as like a single hit you can take, so it's kind of like the rings from Sonic, except you only need every single individual one is equivalent to one hit. And if you have 40 at the end of the level, you get a gold acorn badge. I don't know what it does, but you get it. After learning that you did or did not get the acorn badge, you get your first password, and you can move on to level 2. Level 2 will be dubbed Rain, because it's raining the whole level. And it introduces water as a hazard. Touch it and many is just, it's gone. Rain also gives us moving platforms. All the puzzles that revolve around moving platforms are terrible. There are 2 types of moving platform. One is always moving, and the other doesn't move till you touch it. The puzzles do not use them very interestingly. Screen 3 is a skunk. Screen 3 also introduces bees, which are unkillable. Rain is almost purely built around not falling in the water. Minus Screen 5 is nothing but bees. Other than that, Rain is really boring. Doesn't have a whole lot to talk about. It does reaffirm that Manny's hitbox is god-awful, though. Oh, and I almost forgot. The second boss is a sea monster. You beat it by jumping back and forth between the 2 platforms, shooting walnuts at it whenever it shows itself. And that wraps up Rain. Rain is very slow, not a whole lot of fun to actually play, with boring challenges, and a lot of waiting. Rain has skunks on screens 3, 6, and 8. Level 3, or as I shall call it, Windy. Windy introduces a new playstyle, that of Sid. It's like playing a dinosaur game where you don't have it in it, except for the fact that it's not fun, and you can't see. The camera's too close to Sid for you to really be prepared for anything coming at you. Like enemies, rocks. Mostly rocks. Windy also introduces these big fluffy things. I have no idea what they are. Sid can only walk, jump, and Beyblade. Beyblade, Beyblade, let it rip! And all 3 of his levels are awful. They also contain the only appearance of Diego in the whole game, where he is the checkpoint. That just about covers the first Sid level. Not a whole lot there. Bit tedious, but not very much to write home about. Level 4, Glacier. Glacier is the first level with snow in it, and I think you can see where this is going. Glacier introduces 2 things: the ability for Manny to flip certain enemies over by using ground pound, or hitting them with walnuts, and ice. Glacier is the first level with any real challenges, with most of the screens having some platforming challenges that require a bit of thought. You know, it's like actually a fun bit of platforming, as opposed to levels 1 and 2. Screen 6 is the first time ice appears, and it's exactly what you'd expect. Slippery and awful. It's introduced for 1 screen, on a flat plane, and the next screen has you doing precision platforming on it. You know, like any good ice level. Ice is then implemented somewhere on every following screen, minus the boss. Boss number 3 is a Megacerops, but not like the normal ones that you shoot. This one walks back and forth. That's the only difference. This time, instead of just a boss fight, it has a little platform challenge. And you can't hit him from over here. The only way to damage him is to shoot walnuts, and the only walnut is at the start of the screen. So you have to platform back and forth between the walnut and the stage where the boss stands. Do this 5 times and he goes down. Glacier's pretty good, even with the introduction of ice. He uses ice quite a bit, but it's not really in any super annoying spots. Overall, not half shabby. Next on the list, level 5. Cave. It's definitely a cave. For the most part, cave's just another level. It introduces objects that fall from the ceiling. Here in the cave, they're textured to be rocks. The best part of cave is that the background is the occasional cave painting, and they're nice to look at. Cave Screen 2 introduces geysers that can launch into the air, and they're just used to get you to slightly higher platforms. Cave Screen 3 gives us bats, which are just sprite swap bees, but the bats are definitely a lot cooler to look at than the bees are. The way Cave uses bats and stalactites leads to a couple opportunities where you can do this. I find it pretty funny. Cave has a lot of verticality to most of its level design, but other than that, the level design is pretty simple. Cave also gives us a way to kill the bats. You shoot them with a walnut, which, makes logical sense. The boss for Cave is an armadillo. A very large armadillo. You have to fight in a completely new way compared to prior bosses. You see, he doesn't have a health bar, and he functions like a standard Megacerops. He also makes the same noises as a Megacerops when you shoot him. So just shoot him with walnuts till he falls in the death pit, and you're done. Also, don't fall into the death pit, because it's quite large. Cave is fine. Like Rain, there's a whole lot to talk about, but unlike Rain, it's actually interesting. Level 6. Drift. It's the second Sid level, all the same problems as before. Except this time it has ice! Also, it has these burrowing animals that act like the geysers from Cave. They provide one of the hardest sections in the game. I hate Drift. Level 7. AKA Sparkly. It's a really pretty level, taking place in an ice cave. But in exchange for its beauty, it's really difficult and all the floors are made of ice. This makes it really painful to actually play through, but the atmosphere is amazing. The 5th boss is an eagle, and you have to fight in an ice arena while it's flying around. It's a major pain to beat, with its attacks being very difficult to avoid, along with its stupid chick that you can't damage. It takes 6 hits to bring it down, then the suffering is over. Level 8. Beach. It's an ice beach. But the floor isn't actually ice, making it much more bearable. And it introduces a new thing. Ceiling boulders. These boulders can be knocked from the ceiling with a ground pound. Or if you can reach them, you can knock them down with your trunk, but that one's not as useful. Ground pounding them after they hit the ground gives acorns. The ceiling boulders are mainly used as platforms to reach places that are just out of your reach when you jump, and that's like their whole purpose. Beach also has these awful looking penguins. It's just terrible. Brings back the falling rocks from Cave, but this time they're icicles. Beach involves shooting a lot of Megacerops. It's the main puzzle for 7 separate screens. Beach also brings back the skunk, which we haven't seen in quite a bit. And it's also the last time you will see him in the entire game. The boss for Beach is whatever that is supposed to be. You beat it just like the armadillo. It also makes the Megacerops noises. The falling platforms make it a lot more difficult because there's nowhere else to stand until you hit the boss at least once. And it's a sad boss fight, really. Beach is a bland level, not terribly interesting. It's a little sad, honestly. Now we move on to the final Sid level. Woohoo! Victory! Level 9. Lava. This is the final test of all the skills you gain playing as Sid. And it's just like Drift. It's difficult and not super fun. But we do get this animation when Sid falls in the lava. At least the badge is easy to get in this level. That brings us to the final level. Level 10. Level 10, now dubbed Volcano. Now Manny can experience the lava death animation. Volcano is actually a great level, a very good test of all the skills you've gained as Manny. It can be annoying in spots, but it's a very good final challenge. It also goes by really fast, surprisingly. Volcano actually has 2 bosses. The first is a rematch with the Glyptodon, which happens at the halfway point of Volcano. This time you beat him by shooting acorns at him from across a gap like the Megacerops from Glacier. The challenge through the second half of the Volcano is not as fun as the first half. For quite a few, you have to be almost perfect to make it through without dying. And a lot of the challenges have instant death pits anywhere you could get hit. At least the devs were nice enough to make the second to last screen easy and filled to the brim with acorns. The final boss is Sabretooth. He takes 10 shots to bring down, and he's the best boss in the game. It's a really fun fight, really well worth it. A great way to end the game. After you beat the boss, you get your last password and the final cutscene. It's just the last scene from the movie, where they return the baby to his family. Then Manny, Sid, and Diego walk off into the sunset. You can't see Diego, but he's there. And you get the credits. After the credits, you drop right back into the level select, which feels a little anticlimactic. This game is like a 5 out of 10. Not great, but better than you'd think. And with that, I have nothing else to say about Ice Age for GBA. So I'll bid you one final adieu, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.